Again, quote, "Truth has two attributes, beauty and power. And while useful knowledge is the possession of truth as powerful, liberal knowledge is the apprehension of it as beautiful. Pursue it either as beauty or as power to its fullest extent and its true limit, and you are led by either road to the eternal and the infinite, to the intimations of conscience and to the announcements of the church. Satisfy yourself with what is only visibly and intelligibly excellent, as you are likely to do, and you will make present utility and natural beauty the practical test of truth and the sufficient object of the intellect. It is not that you will at once reject Catholicism, but you will measure and proportion it by an earthly standard. You will throw its highest and most momentous disclosures into the background. You will deny its principles, explain away its doctrines, rearrange its precepts, make light of its practices, even while you profess it. The Church's role in higher education is not to restrict, but to maintain integrity. Quote, her principle is one and the same throughout, not to prohibit truth of any kind, but to see that no doctrines pass under the name of truth, but those which claim it rightly. My third argument, that Newman's embrace of the liberal arts is quite different from what is today valued as a liberal arts core program, at least in its most common form. The so-called liberal arts core programs required by most Catholic colleges and universities today, most American colleges and universities today, is not at all what Newman proposed. It is not simply a matter of dabbling in a series of unrelated liberal arts courses before getting to the specialized work of career preparation. Unlike the modern canon of liberal arts, which is often prescribed without any clear purpose, Newman was not very concerned about the subjects that were studied, except that there be an emphasis on one, learning how to think and organize knowledge, which tends to favor subjects like logic and philosophy and science, and second, learning how to interrelate knowledge to come to a fuller understanding of truth, which favors subjects like theology and, again, philosophy and ethics. Newman encouraged study of the classics, but not as history, but as, quote, the most robust and invigorating discipline for the uninformed mind. So the result then is not the specialist worker or even the admired gentleman, but graduates who display, quote, the force, the steadiness, the comprehensiveness, and the versatility of intellect, the command over our own powers, the instinctive, just estimate of things as they pass before us. And by these skills, with the aid of conscience that is well-formed in fidelity to Catholic teaching, the graduate becomes a better Catholic able to serve God in this world. My fourth argument, that the contemporary university's negligence with regard to students' social, moral, and spiritual development is entirely opposite to what Newman intended. Earlier, I referenced Newman's use of the terms essence and integrity in helping to explain how the intellectual purpose of the university, its essence, which in itself is not explicitly religious, loses its integrity if it excludes due consideration of the truths which are revealed by God, but not accessible by observation or reason. But if a Catholic university has no strictly moral purpose, as Newman writes, and is focused on the intellectual task of teaching and relating knowledge, then what of the concerns that I noted at the outset in today's Catholic colleges and universities? The sexual activity, the abortions, the spiritual decline, the campus decline. Are these not contrary to the mission of a Catholic university as Catholic? Many Catholic university leaders today seem to agree that providing for classroom learning and research is their core responsibility, with at least as much attention to the interests and needs of professors as to the students. And providing residence halls and campus activities is largely an administrative necessity to meet the demands of students who want to live and socialize away from home. The fact that a campus life is largely an administrative concern is immediately evident in the total disengagement of most faculty and college leaders from nearly everything that occurs in campus life, often with a shocking lack of awareness of students' behaviors and interests. That was not at all Newman's intent. Newman's intellectual emphasis when defining the essence of the university is best understood in the context of Oxford University, which was Newman's model for the Catholic University of Ireland with a few key adjustments. At Oxford and at the Catholic University of Ireland, multiple residential colleges were incorporated into a larger university. And although the colleges were subject to the oversight of the university, they were financially independent and the functions of the college and the university were distinct. Today, in America, we use the terms college and university differently to indicate whether or not advanced degrees are offered. But it was in Newman's colleges, which he also called houses, where communities of students developed together morally, spiritually, and intellectually under the close guidance of tutors and rectors. The houses, according to Newman, existed, quote, for the formation of character, intellectual and moral, for the cultivation of the mind, for the improvement of the individual, for the study of literature, for the classics, and those rudimental sciences which strengthen and sharpen the intellect. Newman told the bishops in a report on the university that he considered the discipline of students, quote, one of the most important matters we have to consider. And later, he insisted that the same roof must, quote, contain both the intellectual and moral discipline. That discipline was a matter for the house rectors and tutors. Quote, a university residence, then, is in fact a period of training imposed between boyhood and manhood, and one of its special offices is to introduce and launch the young man into the world. If this be so, then it is entrusted with an office as momentous as it is special. For nothing is more perilous to the soul than the sudden transition from restraint to liberty. Newman greatly respected the young man's need for independence. And although his university would have had rules of conduct and even dress that are found at precious few universities today, he knew that young adults would resist rules and described the, quote, formal discipline of the university as therefore defective. Instead, he relied heavily on personal experience with professors and house rectors and tutors to preserve the integrity of the university. He wanted the houses to be small, noting that, quote, personal influence requires personal acquaintance, and the minute labor of a discretionary rule is too fatiguing to be exercised on a large number. Newman describes the life of the houses as rather strictly regimented by today's standards, and resembling somewhat the ordered intellectual and spiritual life of the oratory. Quote, he wrote, each house has its chapel, its own chapel, and a common table. The following is the course of a student's day. Attendance at Mass at 8 a.m. Breakfast. Attendance at lectures from 9 to 2. Dinner at 5. Presence indoors by a fixed hour in the evening according to the season. This does not sound like a man who is unconcerned with students' life outside the classroom. In addition to the houses, Newman cultivated student behavior and habits in other ways, including celebrating the sacraments of confession and the Mass in the university church, which was distinctly Catholic, not a Muslim prayer room like we find at many universities today, Catholic universities, and deliberately built at the center of the university, and where students were drawn to university sermons by, quote, good preachers. Finally, Newman greatly favored intellectually qualified laymen for faculty positions, but not professors who would undermine the university's commitment to Catholic teaching. Despite the clericalism that was prevalent in Ireland at the time, Newman was adamant about hiring lay professors and involving them in the governance of the university, a point of serious disagreement with Dublin's Archbishop Paul Cullen, who had invited Newman to serve as chancellor. Newman had his way with the faculty, who, while he was there, included 5 priests and 27 laymen.